The following video is not suited for children. Why am I always running in these videos?
Train to your house. Depart from platform 4 in 1 minute.
Bugger! Ooh, fuck! Ow, God damn it, that was the last train home. Looks like I'm stranded here for Christmas. Just me and my can of Heinz Spotted Dick. If only there was some magical way for me to get home. Some sort of magical Christmas express to my house. All aboard! Now what in the name of Nigel Bresley is this? Excuse me, can this train take me to my house?
Why, of course it can! This is the magical Christmas Express! Santa runs these trains just so that people can get home in time for Christmas.
Great, how much is a ticket?
No ticket needed, as long as you have Christmas spirit. And lad, your Christmas spirit seems a little down.
Well, that's because I missed my train home and I'm in a rush. How do you suggest I raise my Christmas spirit in a hurry?
Well, you could sing a carol, drink some mulled wine, watch a Christmas film.
I'll watch a Christmas film. I can do that on the train.
Alright then, which film?
I don't know. If only I knew of a Christmas film that was in any way relevant to this current situation. The Polar Express is an animated Christmas film released in 2004 based on a book written in 1985 sharing the same name. I'm fairly sure you all know what it is and what it's about. It's basically a Christmas Carol but with trains. So a Christmas Carol but 100 times better. It was Warner Brothers' first fully computer animated movie that features the voice talents of Tom Hanks, Leslie Zemeckis, Nona Gay, Tom Hanks, Eddie Dezen, Tom Hanks, Peter Scolari, and Tom Hanks. I still remember when this film came out and I watched it for the first time at my uncle's house and loved it. Because of course I loved it, it has a train in it! The thing is though, as it's aged, you don't realise how weird this film is. Yeah, a magic train is gonna do some pretty weird things, and 2004 CGI hasn't exactly aged well, but I mean in the sense of story structure, it's really bizarre. But hey, it's a Christmas film, nobody cares, right? Well, I'm a man who values quality, and I say that no film is exempt from my cold critical gaze. So while I sit back and ride on my own Polar Express, I'll get into the uff and guff of the Polar Express. The film opens with a narration from Tom Hanks, and we're introduced to our main character. It's established that the kid is starting to lose belief in Santa because he can never hear the bells on Santa's sleigh, on top of just general things a kid would see that would make him lose faith. His parents check to make sure he's sleeping, and his dad, voiced by Tom Hanks, mentions how it seems his days of believing in Santa are over. The film really wanting to hammer home the point that the kid is starting to lose belief in Santa. He goes to sleep and wakes up the next day, sad to find his fears might have come true and that there's no such thing as Christmas magic. Nah, of course not. He gets woken up by an earthquake. That's why you don't hang your clothes by their pockets, you little dipstick. Of course, the earthquake was actually the one and only
Polar Express!
The kid goes to investigate and is greeted by none other than Tom Hanks.
Is this you?
Conductor Hanks tries to convince the kid to get on board, but the kid is still hesitant. In fairness to him, I would also be hesitant to get on board the 8:30 Cheltenham Spa Express if I found it parked outside my bloody house. The train sets off and he obviously has a change of heart, so he runs after it, jumps aboard and takes his seat. For some reason, this girl sat across from him just stares at him for a very uncomfortable amount of time. We're also introduced to what I would be if I had no self-control.
Hey you, yeah you. Do you know what kind of train this is?
Yeah, I'm not afraid to admit it. If I could, I'd just spout train facts all the time. For example, the engine in the film is actually a Baldwin 284 S3 class Berkshire type steam locomotive built in 1931 at the Baldwin Locomotive Works. It weighs 456,100 pounds and has a tractive effort of—
Shut up!
Sorry. Anyway, I'll take this moment now to remind myself that this is a magical train, and if I ever get angry at the film's logic, then this little alarm will go off to remind me that none of this is real and it can't hurt me.
Ticket, please. Try your pocket. Try your other pocket.
Look boy, I either punch a ticket or I punch you. Hurry up. The train stops to pick up one last kid and Conductor Hanks goes out to greet them.
This is the Polar Express!
I love the implication that he said the exact same thing to every kid that's gotten on the train. And of course, this kid is also hesitant to get on board, but then also has another change of heart. Run, kid, run! Bend your legs, straight forward. You're waddling too much, swing your arms. Lean forwards a bit. Oh, never mind. Dipstick applies the emergency brake to allow the kid to get on, and Tom Hanks naturally gets mad at him, but he lets Dipstick off the hook because he's got more important things to worry about. And now the train is finally moving, we're introduced to the horrifying fact that this film is actually a musical with the Hot Chocolate song. I'll be fair, the song is catchy and a bit of a toe tapper, so I wouldn't grumble. Though I must say that the table service here is questionable on the account of waiters dancing on the tables. It's service like that is why I don't eat at the local Wetherspoons anymore. Girl decides to take the quiet kid a drink, but leaves her ticket on the seat. Dipstick tries to take it back to her instead of just waiting for her to come back, but he ends up losing it. This leads to a filler-esque section where the ticket flies away, and here is where the film goes from being just a film to suddenly becoming a tech demo for the animation studio. Seriously, we watch the ticket flutter through the air and then land in a snowy forest just as a pack of wolves race past, causing it to flutter over a cliff where it gets caught by an eagle. Then it flies down a waterfall and feeds the ticket to a baby bird, which spits it out into the snow, causing it to roll into a snowball before crashing back onto the tracks, where it's picked up by the train and gets blown back into the train carriage. An almost 2-minute long sequence with no cuts, just one long take. You got snow physics in there, some fur rendering, fabric physics of the paper, feathers of the bird, water simulations, particle effects, and dynamic camera movement. It's basically a tech demo of what the animation software can do. Impressive, but not what I'd pay to see in a cinema. Anyway, Tom Hanks finds out the girl doesn't have her ticket and takes her away, making all the other kids think she's getting thrown off the train. Dipstick finds her ticket again and follows after them. For some reason, they're walking along the roof to get to the front of the train. Can't think of any good reason why they had to do that. The only reason they did is so that Dipstick could run into Tom Hanks the homeless.
I'm looking for a girl.
Homeless the Hanks engine talks to Dipstick for a while, questioning him on whether he believes in Santa or not. I'll be honest, he's my favourite character in the film. There's so much personality and wisdom to him, yet you still know nothing about what he really is. Maybe a ghost, maybe an angel, or maybe he's just all in Dipstick's head. This is how you write an intriguing character, folks. Tom Hobo grabs his skis and tells Dipstick to get ready because the train is about to enter a tunnel and they need to reach the engine. The train climbs a hill, which in reality would be impossible for an engine to climb since their wheels lack the appropriate amount of friction to... Fine. So they ski down the train and it's a fun little sequence, then Homeless disappears as Dipstick jumps into the cleanest pile of coal I have ever seen. Seriously, he was buried in the stuff and there isn't a speck of dust on him. Turns out the driver and fireman are fixing the headlamp and left Girl in charge of driving the engine for some reason.
That's the throttle. That's the brake. Those are the pressure gauges. And that rope is the whistle.
Okay, the first one is called a regulator, but it's basically a throttle, so I'll let her pass on that. I mean, there is much more to driving a train of that size, but a regulator, brake, and reverser is pretty much all you need. Then again, it can depend on...
Shut up!
Something that bugs me is the fact that the driver and fireman seem to be the only animated characters in the whole film. Like, the way they move seems a lot smoother and more cartoony than the rest of the mo-capped actors. Just then, the driver spots something on the track and calls for Girl to stop the train.
Which one of these is brake? What about this red one? It looks like a brake. No, he said this was the brake. Are you sure?
Yes, the gold one is the air brake and that red one is the reverser, which is more of a gear selector, but because trains can only go backwards and forwards, it does kind of make sense to call it a...
Shut up! Seriously, you have a problem.
Sorry.
You're really not getting into this whole Christmas spirit thing, are you?
Look, I don't get how a train to see Santa is supposed to fix my Christmas spirit.
Well, that's because you're not watching it properly. Don't argue with it and just enjoy it.
Fine, I'll try. So the train has stopped now. As they're assessing the situation, Dipstick accidentally pulls on the fireman's beard, causing him to yell, scaring the deer. Guys, stop pulling on his beard. You can just ask him to yell. That is workplace harassment right there. Someone's gonna get a sternly worded letter from the local union representative. They set off again and all seems well for once on this Nightmare Express. That is until a pin comes loose on the regulator. Some driver you are just yanking at the regulator. You gotta handle a machine like that how you'd handle a lady. Gentle touches, small movements on the regulator. Unless she has daddy issues, then be as rough as you like. For legal reasons, that was a joke. Twitter, please don't cancel me. Then the train does the typical movie thing where suddenly it becomes a roller coaster because some genius out there figured trains run on tracks. Roller coaster run on tracks. Train equal roller coaster. That's not how it works! I hope that person has since been shot because a train cannot grip the rails enough to climb a gradient that steep. It has no friction. There is no way in hell it could... Fine. I draw the line at the pin cracking the ice though. It can take the weight of a whole dodgam train, but a pin is what causes it to shatter. And now, attentive viewers will notice that we are at the meme scene. You know the one where the train full on Tokyo drifts across the ice. I could just slap some Eurobeat over the scene and call it a joke, but I'm gonna try and do one better.
スネークヘアピンの4つ目でいく。
Well, that's more like it.
I can't believe you found my ticket.
So now that's over, Tom Hanks takes the kids back to the carriage. On their way, they pass through a carriage full of old toys that Santa wants to recycle. Dipstick gets left alone there for a moment so we can have an unnecessary scary scene.
You're a doubter! A doubter you don't believe!
Damn, Woody really let himself go after Toy Story 2. I'm glad he managed to get sober in time for Toy Story 3. Dipstick escapes and finds Girl at the back of the train watching quiet kids sing. Yeah, I bet you forgot this was a musical, huh? While this song is going on, let's take a moment to talk about the animation. For 2004, the detail is pretty damn good, but it hasn't aged well. It's not quite photorealistic, but that's obviously not what they were trying to achieve. The issue is, they tried to keep the smooth style character design typical of animation and apply it to realistically proportioned people, resulting in most of the characters look like they have faces made of Play-Doh. The movement makes it weird too, because most of the action is motion captured. It looks slightly off when compared to the animated models it's applied to. Like, carried objects don't seem to have any sort of weight, or items in people's hands don't seem to be held properly. The human movements on the models just doesn't quite sit right, and mixed with the putty faces, we end up with the uncanny valley effect where we can't quite figure out if what we're looking at is human or not. Anyway, back to the film, where the kids are looking at the northern lights.
Aurora Borealis. At this time of year, at this time of day, localized entirely within your kitchen.
We get another song as the train finally reaches the North Pole, which seems to please the conductor. All the elves are gathered in the town square ready to celebrate Christmas, and you'd think that would be the end of the film. But here's the thing, we're only halfway in. I'm not kidding, there's another 45 minutes or so of runtime left. Everyone gets off and is about to meet Santa when Dipstick and Girl remember the quiet kid is still on board the train. Tom Hanks just says to leave him if he doesn't want to come, but Girl and Dipstick decide to try and convince him.
Christmas just doesn't work out for me.
But Christmas is such a wonderful, beautiful time. It's a time for giving and being thankful for friends and family.
Oh, it's not that. It's because I'm Jewish. Just as they convince him to join them, the carriage decides it's not done being a roller coaster and just rolls down the track, leaving the kids lost and stranded at the end of the line. And here's where the tone of the film just decides to go from adventurous to eerie with no real reason. For the next 10 minutes or so, we just follow the kids walking around a deserted industrial area with classical Christmas music ominously playing in the background. We get to see some elves working on the naughty list, and it's the most ominous thing to watch.
I didn't do it. I didn't do it. I didn't do it.
Also, for some reason, all of the elves are from New York.
What's the rowdy?
Going to the States. Grand Rapids, Michigan.
Ho ho ho, you know what I'm saying? Hey, I'm wrapping presents over here. Hey kid, I heard you've been naughty this year. Keep going like that and you might find yourself getting a pair of concrete shoes for Christmas. They take a pneumatic tube to a warehouse and just walk around for a bit. Quiet Kid finds a present addressed to him and refuses to let go of it, leading to the gang sliding down a slide and ending up in a big pile of presents. Bad naughty children get put in the sack this year. The sack gets hoisted away, the gang finds the nerd kid in the pile of presents, and the elves do some stunts. At this point, we're just killing time.
Alright, you stowaways. Party's over.
Looks like we got a couple of troublemakers here. You're lucky it's Christmas, kids, else we'd feed you to the reindeer.
The kids regroup, and then this. You show me something more ominous than a sea of elves dressed in red, slowly singing Santa Claus is coming to town in high-pitched distorted voices. This is turning into some Call of Cthulhu shit right here. Speaking of, here's the big man himself. It's at this point we're reminded that Dipstick can't hear the sleigh bells on Santa's sled because he's still doubting if Santa exists. Boy, you are standing in the North Pole surrounded by elves with Santa right there after riding on a bullshit magic train, and you still have the gall to doubt Santa's existence. Lord have mercy on this child, because I won't. So one of the bells falls off the sleigh and Dipstick picks it up and he does the whole I believe thing, and suddenly he can hear it jingle because Christmas spirit, I guess. And now he believes in the Christmas spirit, Santa appears. Oh boy, Father Christmas. One of the most iconic and well-known figures in all of culture. I wonder who could possibly voice him in all his uncanny glory.
What was that you said?
Yeah, it's Tom Hanks again. They just had him in the studio and said, screw it, Tom, you can do this guy too. You're already voicing half the cast. Dipstick gets to have a little heart-to-heart with Santa and gets to keep the bell as a reminder of the Christmas spirit or whatever. Santa's Whip is brought to you by the LGBT community. Old St. Nick flies around a little bit before tragedy suddenly strikes and he gets snapped into dust by Thanos. With Christmas now done with, Tom Hanks punches a moral lesson into everyone's ticket and all the kids pile into the train to head home. Dipstick tries to show off his cool bell, but it turns out he put it in his rip pocket and lost it, making him really sad.
One thing about trains, it doesn't matter where they're going. What matters is deciding to get on.
Yeah, that's nice and all, but it's good to know where it's going because the last thing I want is to end up in Stoke-on-Trent. He arrives home somewhat bummed out and goes to sleep. Next day he wakes up and goes about Christmas as usual, questioning whether everything was just a dream the night before. When all hope seems lost, he finds the bell that Santa left for him, giving him Christmas spirit once again. Whatever that means. So that was The Polar Express. It's hard to explain what this film is outside of a Christmas movie. Like, it starts out all whimsy with a train picking up a kid in the middle of the night, then it's an adventure story before suddenly turning into Silent Hill, then finally cramming a bunch of Christmas stuff at the end. And it's so drawn out. Some scenes take so much longer to play out than they need to, and there are just some sequences that are pretty much just filler. About 2/3 of the North Pole scenes are just that. I believe that you could edit out about 40 minutes of this film and still get the same experience. You can tell this film was designed to be watched on a big screen in 3D with all the roller coaster sequences and sweeping shots. The animation in this film is what most people are going to have a gripe. Like I said, it hasn't aged well because of the putty faces and uncanny character design, but there are some shots that do look quite nice, albeit not enough to redeem itself. The music and sound design is fine, so no worries there. The acting is on point, but once you notice Tom Hanks' voice voices half the cast, it's very hard to unhear just Tom Hanks. Goodest boy? It's hard to pin down one character that stood out above everyone else as wholesome, so I'm just going to give the award to Tom Hanks. He voices most of the characters that qualify, so it just makes sense to me. As for the story, I can't say I was ever really drawn into the film. The structure of the film is very jarring, and there are some moments that are just awkward or uncomfortable. It's as if they cut the film in half and stitched the other half of a different movie into it. There wasn't a moment that made me want to watch on or fully grab my attention, and as a result, the film is just sort of a slug to get through. Maybe it's because I saw the film as a kid, or maybe it's because I'm very pedantic about trains, but I just struggled to watch it. Even writing this review was kind of hard because so much happens in this film, but not a lot of it was noteworthy. I just can't describe this film, and I can't say I really get what the message is in this film. Like, Dipstick is starting to lose his belief in Santa, so he gets on a train to meet Santa, and he believes in the Christmas spirit again. It just doesn't seem that deep to me.
It's a Christmas film. As long as he finds the Christmas spirit, what does it matter?
Well, it's just there could have been a much better way of showing the Christmas spirit. For example, The Quiet Kid mentions that Christmas just doesn't work out for him. It's never specified why, but my guess is likely because he's from a poor family. He would have been much better to focus on rather than Dipstick. Show how someone like him could find Christmas spirit in being thankful for what he has or something.
Look, it's a Christmas film. Are you really going to get this bothered over it?
Christmas or not, if the story's bad, it's bad. I just believe that it doesn't do a good job at defining what the true Christmas spirit is.
We are now arriving at your home. Please remember to take your belongings, or the cleaners will steal them.
Oh, excuse me, this is my stop.
Hold on, before you go, what do you believe the true Christmas spirit really is?
Me? I think it's about love and acceptance. In this diverse world where even tight-knit families can conflict so heavily in opinion and personality, it's good to have one time of year where none of it matters, where you can remind loved ones that you do still care about them even if you don't fully understand them as a person. Believing in Santa and giving gifts has nothing to do with it. It's about believing that even for one day we can all have something we agree on, an experience we can all share and enjoy, an experience like watching this movie and sharing the same feeling of boredom and confusion. The feeling that unites us as friends and family. That's the true Christmas spirit.
Wow, that's actually rather heartfelt. The big man won't be happy you talked down on him after riding on one of his express trains, but that's your problem.
Wait, what?
Right away!
What do you mean, my problem? Well then, that was an experience, and I hope all you watching enjoyed sharing that experience with me. Do the like and subscribe thing if you want, but most importantly, have yourself a Merry Christmas. See you next year.